All right, well, it is that time once again, episode 34 of Double Coverage Sports Talk, and good to be back with you in the studio. A return to the regularly scheduled programming. I was out last week. Luke took that opportunity to do a ministry-focused podcast, interviewed a couple of Mormon missionaries, and from what I've seen and heard, that was a fantastic interview, a fantastic discussion. It's been very well received across all our social media platforms. My mother texted me to say, would it be weird if I let Luke know that was an excellent job? And I said no. So
I got a very, very nice text from your mother.
Yes, I gave my mother your number, and here we are. But it was a fantastic discussion, like I said, just very from the heart, very honest, and it was very cool to see two faiths represented, right? The whole point of that podcast was that Mormons do call themselves Christians, but according to the scriptures and even by their own writings and teachings, they are not Christians. And so a great discussion from Luke. If you have not heard that, please go listen to that, episode 33, again, a special edition. But it is episode 34. We're thrilled to be back in the TexAg studios with you. Couldn't get the graphic to load up, so you see a much better design than the one that we currently have. Ours is, I think, going to be undergoing some renovations very, very soon.
Hopefully soon, yes.
Yeah. But anyway.
Not to discredit your brother's artistic masterpiece.
Over a year ago.
Yeah.
No, but, a lot to talk about today. We have quite a bit. We were discussing pre-show in the days leading up to this. If we were going to cut anything or if we were just going to dive into a ton. We're going to talk Mavs. Dirk's send-off from the AAC was last night, an emotional, moving night, both in the American Airlines Center and really across the nation and internationally as well, with the German media there representing Dirk's homeland. And, we'll start there. It was incredible to see the big German go out the way that he did, scored the first 10 points for the Mavericks in a moving night, as Logan says hello, as he usually does every once in a while here. Looking sharp, Logan. Just an incredible night for Dirk. It couldn't have gone really any better. You jump out to a huge lead over the Suns. Jamal Crawford had a historic night himself, made it close, but the Mavs do get the win. And Luke, as we jump into this, what were your initial thoughts from last night? What did you think was special about the way that Dallas sent number 41 out?
Man, it's been a loss of words, because you can we'll never be able to put into words the impact Dirk made on sports fans, basketball fans, the city of Dallas. I mean, we are still never sure if he was going to retire. Mm-hmm. Part of me is a little upset because I felt like he was being pushed out of the league. And Kevin Durant, he was asked about in a press conference about a month ago, what's the impact Dirk's made on you and the game? And he's like, well, he hasn't retired yet. I'll speak on that when he retires. And I'm sure behind the scenes, Dirk has made his decision for a while. And Mark Cuban's talked about it for a few weeks, hinted at it. Mm-hmm. But man, it's just tough. It's been an emotional few days. I shed quite a few sports tears in my Nissan Xterra today, just watching the
Shout out to Nissan.
Yeah, shout out to Nissan.
Looking for that first sponsor.
But watching the 5-minute video open letter to Dirk by Mark Followell, the voice of the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. I mean, that rocked me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I can't even put into words what Dirk's meant. The hills and valleys of his career, how amazing of a person he is on and off the court. Mm-hmm. Goes by Uncle Dirk at the Children's Hospital.
Whew, that was moving.
He changed the entire game of basketball, which not very many players can say and will ever be able to say, I changed the game of basketball. Mm-hmm. And it's been tough. It's sad that Dirk is gone. Our entire lives have been Dirk Nowitzki.
Quite literally.
And it's just really sad. Obviously, it happened great. He wanted it to happen organically. He wasn't looking for it's all about me. Dirk's not an all about me kind of guy.
Dwayne Wade.
We'll get to that in a second.
I'm sure he'll hear this eventually.
Yeah, it was kind of like the way Tim Duncan went out. Kind of low-key, organic. And it was awesome to see. He didn't have a going away tour, but yet fans were at standing ovations. Doc Rivers told Staples Center to stand up on their feet and cheer for Dirk at the end of the Clippers game a few weeks ago. Yeah. It's awesome, super sad. Our sports hero is gone, but it was really touching to see how he went out.
Yeah, I agree. Right off the top, this does kind of signify changing of the guard, right? We've gone through with the Stars, with Mike Modano retiring years ago, with Michael Young being traded away with the Rangers. You had Tony Romo retire for the Dallas Cowboys, and now you've had Dirk Nowitzki play his last game at the AAC. He'll play one more game tonight, probably just a few minutes, just kind of courtesy minutes, basically. But I agree. It's not unique, obviously. Those who come before us all have their sports heroes that they've seen rise up and then retire, and so it just means we're getting old, basically. It's just what it really means. This is just an odd stage of life to be in as a sports fan, because no other player has done the things that Dirk has done for one franchise over 20 plus years. He's very much been a pillar of this Dallas community and will continue to be. He said that he's making Dallas his home. He and his family will continue to live here. He said he's a Texan through and through after moving back from Germany all those years ago. But yeah, I think to your point, it's hard to put words into a cognitive order, right, to fully describe what Dirk means to the city of Dallas, to us as sports fans. And I thought Mark Followell's open letter to Dirk, that got me too.
My gosh.
That was emotional. It was beautifully done. It was perfect. Dirk has handled this, I think, as good as you could possibly do it. He and his wife were talking about how he didn't know that he was going to be retiring really until, a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago. He had left the door, open just a crack to make that return. But since then, he's had a tough time battling with it. He's, said that he's had breakdowns. Even he had a breakdown yesterday on his way to the AAC getting dressed. He just, realized, oh my gosh, this is over. But, a great performance. The city of Dallas sent him out the best way imaginable, and I think transitioning into a little bit of comparison with another player who's retiring this year, Dwayne Wade, Dirk has never made this about himself at all. I was asking, I was out at baseball media availability today talking to some of the other writers and asking them, okay, what do you think? How do you compare Dirk and Dwayne? And obviously they're two completely different players. Dirk has done it as the number one here in Dallas for forever, right?
Yeah.
Dwayne had his 2006 championship, but he really had Shaq, and I think a lot of people would still say Shaq was the number one on that team. And then obviously he's played second fiddle to LeBron for the vast majority of his career. But the difference between the way Dirk has handled this and Dwayne has handled this, Dwayne announcing he's retiring, going on the fanfare tour, having a camera crew follow him around for this entire season and just kind of me, always tweeting about himself. And Dirk is Uncle Dirk.
Yeah.
Dirk's spending time at the Children's Hospital. He doesn't, make it known that, oh, yeah, I'm retiring. I want this fanfare. And so, just curious to get your thoughts on that, because I certainly have a very blue-tinted opinion when it comes to Dwayne Wade.
I mean, obviously, it's no question we have a good deal of sports hatred for Dwayne Wade.
Sure.
From 2006 and just the Dirk-Dwayne battles. And they're going out different ways. And I mean, but we should honor Dwayne as a great career.
He's going to be a Hall of Fame player.
Oh, of course, one of the best NBA players of all time.
Yeah.
And Bud Light did a video. I don't know if you've seen it.
Budweiser, not Bud Light.
Oh, it was
Budweiser.
Okay. Bud something.
Yes.
But they did a tribute video to Dwayne Wade.
Yes,
and
touching.
I was already misty-eyed, shedding tears about Dirk in my car, and then I watched that, and that just sent me over the top.
Yeah.
Very, very touching on how Dwayne Wade's made an impact on the community of Miami. And he's had a huge impact on Miami.
Absolutely.
But I would say Dirk just for the longevity of staying with Dallas the entire 21 years. I think the relationship Dirk had with the city of Dallas is so unique and just so, like Mark Fowler said, just so perfect.
Yes.
Dallas wanted him to succeed. The early years were tough. Years 1 through 3 were really tough. Mm-hmm. But years 3 to the present, it's been Dirk's team.
Yeah.
And that relationship with Dallas has just been perfect. And I just love that Dirk's just always worn a Dallas jersey. So we'll raise a glass to Dwayne. We still will maintain our sports hatred for him forever. But man, both went out with 30 points. Great to see. How about Dirk scoring 30? Like you said, I mean, that was great. And
with
then
a dunk.
And then Jamal Crawford was trying to hurt it. He had dropped 51. Come on, Jamal. Golly. But gosh, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
Dirk Nowitzki, it's just not going to be the same. I love the passing of the torch with Luka's rookie year.
Right.
Dirk's final year. Luka had a triple-double last night, his 8th of the year, more than Magic, his rookie year. Mm-hmm. The passing of the torch is beautiful, but it's just not going to be the same. You're not going to Dirk's house to see Dirk play. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be sad for a while. And for all the Dallas sports media all over Twitter, they're tweeting, "My hero is retired. My hero's gone," and it's just not the same. But
it does leave a void. It does
a huge void, and it will be filled.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, to use a cliche, I mean, there's a time for mourning, and joy will come. Joy will come eventually.
Yeah.
But man, it's really tough right now. There's a lot of sorrow and sadness, but also just gratefulness and just. We want to also be joyful and happy on what Dirk has meant to Dallas and be thankful for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, tough to wrap our heads around the fact that the big German won't be suiting up to the
tall
Mavs
baller from the G
anymore after tonight, but he does leave this team in good hands. Luka Doncic, I mean, assuming the latest headlines that I've heard with Kristaps Porzingis and his issue, I don't think that's going to be an issue for next season. It certainly seems like it's a kind of vengeful ex-girlfriend or something like that, which I really would hate to sully our Dirk conversation with that. But all that to say, the Mavs should be in a good spot moving forward. You know, people are talking about the Mavs making the playoffs next year as if it's a done deal. I don't know if it's
I think shooting for a 7 or 8 seed is for sure within the realm of possibility.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But then it's going to be 2 or 3 years of growing pains.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll have to wait and see. But to the big German, to 41, I mean, heck of a career. And we're all collectively, Dirk and us as fans, are going to have to figure out, okay, what do we do next? How do we move on? But to a career well played, to a lifetime of service here in the Dallas community, we are very thankful and looking forward to see what Dirk has coming up next. So glad we could get some Mavs talk.
Thank you, Big German.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dirk. Well, we've got a lot else to talk about. We've got NCAA to talk about. We're not going to end this show with a lesson. We're actually going to mix that in coming up next. We're going to talk about the championship game in the NCAA tournament, Virginia over Texas Tech, mix in a little conversational lesson that Luke has planned, and then we're also going to be touching on the NBA playoff situation as well as going through a little bit of NFL talk as the Cowboys are getting ready to draft here at the end of the month. We don't have a first-round pick. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but Luke, take us on a continuation of our basketball journey in this episode, the NCAA championship. First of all, just start off with the championship game. Texas Tech, Virginia. What did you think watching that game? Who were you rooting for? That's been a touchy subject among Aggies. I was ridiculed on Twitter for saying, hey, guns up, wreck 'em. I'd like to see Texas Tech get this done.
Yeah, for sure. I was rooting for Virginia. I just loved knowing the fact that they lost to a 16 seed for the first time as a 1 seed ever last year in the championship game. Love their head coach. Love their team. In an ACC full of one-and-dones, full of McDonald's All-Americans. Kyle Guy is the only McDonald's All-American on the floor for Virginia. They They all stay and play. And for anyone that was saying this wasn't going to be an exciting basketball game, I hope that you looked yourself in the mirror and said, you know what?
Wrong.
I was dead wrong.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it was going to be less points. But, man, they played basketball right. Hard-nosed defense. Yeah. But then they're still so dynamic offensively. It was just, as we wave to Clay, it was amazing to watch. I loved the pressure of both teams, loved both coaches. Man, it was great. And you could say, oh, Virginia got lucky. Yeah, Virginia, of course, had breaks. And every championship team's going to have breaks.
Sure. Every team that wins has a break.
Virginia won that game in the second half. They shot unbelievably from the floor. From the free throw line, they maybe missed one or two in the second half. They were automatic from the free throw line. Defensively, they made stops when they had to, especially the very questionable play call at the end of regulation. Just no screens. Jarrett Culver just flashed to the ball for Tech and turn around, fadeaway three.
Yeah.
Bad play call. Not sure what was going on there, but really loved the game. Very happy for Virginia. Obviously heartbroken for Tech. Love some of their players. Matt Mooney. I mean, I love all their players. Matt Mooney, real strong believer. And just like older players that have been through the gauntlet of 3 and 4 years of college basketball to be in the championship game. I just couldn't. I kept saying out loud, Texas Tech is in the national championship game. Yeah. Texas Tech is in the national championship game. Yeah. I loved it. I loved that non-blue bloods were playing for the championship.
Well, and conversely, I mean, as much as I was doing that for Texas Tech, I was also doing that for Virginia.
Oh, absolutely.
Virginia, finally.
Yeah.
Out of all the times that they've been, you know, a top seed coming out of the ACC, a favorite to finally break through and do it, and then for them to lose to a team like UMBC last year, and it's just kind of been the same old narrative for Virginia, right?
Yep.
They crush the regular season. And then if they get to the Sweet 16, good job. You did a great job. I don't remember if I had them bounced in the round of. Yeah, it had to have been the round of 32 because I had them losing to Utah State, which Utah State didn't even make it past.
Well, that was UNC. They would have played Virginia.
Oh, it was UNC that I had. I had Virginia getting upset in the second round.
I had them losing to Tennessee in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Regardless, Tony Bennett finally broke through.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it was as scripted as you could make it on the broadcast. The final line when Virginia won from ruin to redemption. I mean, you knew Westwood One had been planning that line since Virginia won their semifinal game. But that's the perfect summation of this story. You could not have lost a game worse than they did last year to the Retrievers of UMBC, a team that nobody knew what UMBC stood for.
No.
And then they come out and absolutely rock the boat against Virginia, and this year the Cavaliers rebound very, very close half against Gardner-Webb to start the tournament.
Yeah, we said, here we go again.
Yes, and then it really felt like, and I think, you know, Charles Barkley or someone might have said this, once they got past Gardner-Webb, it felt like, okay, breathe. Now let's play Virginia basketball. And, you know, like you said, Tech and Virginia, two very defensive-minded teams. At one point, the game was on pace for a 24-16 final score. It was like 3-2, 6 minutes in or something like that. It was ridiculous how effective both teams were playing defense. Neither team could get inside the three-point ring.
No.
Neither team could drive into the paint to even attempt a layup. That's how solid both teams played defensively. But yeah, heartbroken for Chris Beard. I know a lot of Tech fans. They were really, really excited. I think their hashtag was "Why Not Us," and that seemed to embody the Texas Tech spirit. Like, hey, no one really picked us to be here, but why not? You know, why couldn't we do this? And like you said, a couple of calls went against the Red Raiders, seemingly in favor of Virginia. You know, you got to feel for, forgetting his name, David, what's his last name?
Davide.
Moretti. You know, having the ball stolen from him and then glancing off his pinky finger. The call initially goes in favor of Tech. They go to the monitor for, what felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And reverse the call. But such is basketball. But on this story of from ruin to redemption, I think is the theme of where you wanted to take us for the devotional part of this.
Before we hop in the devotional, I just want to cover an important, I guess, a few big notes from the game. One is DeAndre Hunter is the real deal. He earned himself a guaranteed lottery pick, and Virginia was missing him last year. That's no excuse to lose to a 16 seed. But he was their offense last year. And watching him play this year, he's huge. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC. He throttled Jarrett Culver. And, of course, Jarrett Culver's going to...
had a rough game.
Yeah, and he had a rough tournament. And so scouts may be a little weary about taking Culver so high. But DeAndre Hunter, I think, is more of a Harrison Barnes type. Harrison Barnes was better early in his career. But both incredible on defense. Neither Harrison Barnes or DeAndre Hunter are great shot creators, but they space the floor. They can knock down a three. They have good overall offensive games, and they're big. They're both 6'7", 6'8", 225 pounds. So DeAndre Hunter's great. Kyle Guy is awesome. Not just a shooter. He's dangerous off the dribble, and they all play defense. I love that. Ty Jerome is a wizard in between the years. Not the greatest athlete. And you just look at him like, man, that dude. You look at some Virginia's players, they're tiny point guard. Although he mixed people in his high school tape. I watched that today. It was unbelievable. But Ty Jerome, you look at him, you're like, who is this guy with an atrocious-looking beard? And he, although great shoe game, wearing Kobe 4s. Very jealous of his shoe game. But a wizard upstairs in the cranium. Just amazing at reading ball screens, getting into the lane to his floater. Virginia basketball is fun to watch. And then Tech, Culver, still going to be a lottery pick probably, struggling in the tournament. Matt Mooney, awesome player. Tariq Owens, I don't know how his ankle wasn't removed from his leg against Michigan State.
Yeah.
But I mean, his ankle touched the floor, and he came back in that game.
That was a bad sprain.
But love his play. Both teams are just so active. That's one of my favorite national championship games I've watched. And this Final Four was awesome. Close games, whereas 2 or 3 years ago when it was Syracuse, UNC, Nova, and Oklahoma, the worst Final Four I think that we'll ever have. Yeah. Nova 40-pieced Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was awful.
Now, Coppell guy got on the floor. So that I enjoyed that.
So raise a glass.
Hometown hero. He saw some garbage time, and then UNC kind of killed Syracuse. But great Final Four, great tournament. First 2 rounds, not really a lot of upsets, but the Sweet 16 was high seeds and unbelievable basketball, overtime games. I mean, I thought it was a great tournament.
And in Virginia's last 3 games, they trailed each of those last 3 games with less than 15 seconds to go. In the Sweet 16, or no, I guess it was the Elite 8, the Final Four, and the championship game. They were down by at least 3 points in every single one of those games with less than 15 seconds left. Purdue, it was, oh goodness, I want to say it was like not 6.
Well, I mean, I guess at the buzzer in regulation.
They hit the 3. So, oh man, I'm forgetting the stat. But anyway, Virginia, I mean, escaped. Virginia was the embodiment of survive and advance this season. And an incredible championship the first for Virginia, the first obviously for Tony Bennett. So hats off to him. Congratulations, sir. Yes, but for the lesson, not a typical lesson where I just rant spiritually and Mitch is forced to listen. But on the topic of redemption, I mean, Virginia is a number 1 overall seed last year, first 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed. Embarrassment, heartbreak. This year with basically the same team, adding DeAndre Hunter back this year, they win the national championship. So I guess before I give some thoughts, like what's your initial thoughts on that idea of redemption, and I guess relating that to the redemption we have in Jesus Christ? Yeah, I think it's important to realize that, you know, in sports, you're always going to have a moment where you lose, right? No one ever wins. And so when you were talking about, when we were discussing, okay, here's, what's the plan for the lesson and relating it to this ruin to redemption theme, what made me start thinking was, just as we all lose in basketball, we all sin as humans, right? And, looking at the road ahead of us as Christians is, if we were to rely on ourselves and say, I can get myself to redemption by myself, I don't need any other help, I can do this, we'd obviously never make it. We don't have the strength to do that. Just like one player in basketball can't, other than maybe LeBron sometimes, can't put, the team on his back and just say, only through my efforts are we going to get to a national championship. I'm not saying that there's a Christ figure in basketball. That's not what I'm teeing this up to do.
Some seasoning of blasphemy in this right here.
DeAndre Hunter is not Virginia's Christ. That's not what I'm saying. Although, I bet the older generation listening to this is going, hold on, young fellow, where are you going with this? What I am saying, though, is that the closest comparison that I can get to is, as sports figures, we cannot secure a national championship, secure our dreams, secure our destiny, our glory by ourselves, right? You have to be part of a team. You have to have those around you that help you. Similarly, drawing that parallel,
here we go.
Christ redeems us and saves us if we put our faith and trust and hope in him, and he's the one that guides us on that path to redemption. It's a daily process, right? Just like you get better in sports every single day that you grind and practice at it, you improve. Christ improves us through our faith in him and through our obedience to him. And so that's where I was going mentally when you brought this idea up. I really hope I didn't just
brought it back.
Everybody stop listening. Back to you.
Yeah, no, that's great. I totally agree. I look at redemption like, what do we do when we're rocked? Yeah. Like Virginia was rocked last year.
Couldn't get any lower than that.
No, heartbreak, embarrassment in the headlines for months. Yeah. But then they come back this year. Mm-hmm. They remain faithful. They have a great leader in Tony Bennett, who's very outspoken about his faith. Yep. Great leader. I would say he's like the Dabo Sweeney of college basketball. But man, Virginia was rocked, but they remained faithful. Mm-hmm. So as Christians, when we're rocked, are we faithful? Obviously, I'm not feeding you that, okay, I'm going to remain faithful and good things are going to happen. Like, I'm not guaranteeing a national championship. But look, we've already been given a national championship, and we have redemption from the blood of Christ. Yeah. We already have that redemption, so why not remain faithful? Right. Virginia remained faithful not having that redemption yet. So why shouldn't we remain faithful already having that redemption? Mm-hmm. So look, when we're rocked in life, obviously it's not going to be easy. It wasn't easy when Paul was continuously suffering for the gospel. It wasn't easy when Abraham was told to go sacrifice his son. I'm sure that rocked him. Yeah. I mean, plenty of characters in the Bible. It wasn't easy when Jesus was getting rocked and beaten and killed. But he remained faithful. So are we remaining faithful as Christians when we're rocked in life? And I'm sure you've heard this over and over again, like, oh, you've been fed Romans 8:28, Jeremiah 29:11. And yeah, that's truth. But look, of course, things are going to happen. You're going to lose to a 16 seed in life. But what are you going to do? Are you prepared to be rocked? Mm-hmm. Abraham was prepared. He didn't. It's not like we're expecting bad things to happen, but we're prepared when there's things that happen to us that try to throw us off course. Mm-hmm. Do we have a foundation in Jesus that when things happen, we're not thrown off course? So, like, yeah, Abraham was prepared when God told him to go sacrifice his son. Paul was prepared to suffer for the sake of taking the gospel to Gentiles. Yeah. Are we prepared? Are we built? Do we have a foundation in Christ Jesus to where we lose a 16 seed in life and we're not just thrown off course like a feather in the wind? Right. Because, yes, sometimes out of God's grace, he allows you to get rocked so you realize, wow, I don't have this foundation. Mm-hmm. And that's gracious. Look at it through that lens. God, I'm going to thank you that you have revealed to me that I do not have a foundation in you, because this thing rocked my world. But look, we don't. That doesn't have to happen. You can start building that foundation in Christ Jesus right now. To when things happen, you are firm in the blood of Christ. You are firm in your relationship with Christ. And there will be tough days for sure. Things happen, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Like, go read Romans 28. God's going to work all things out for your good. And like, I'm not going to tell you that when you're amidst suffering, and just feed that to you. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, yeah, that's going to be hard. Embrace it and rely on that foundation you've been building for years. So when I think of this redemption with Virginia, look, they were faithful. They could have been rocked and they could have dismantled. Tony Bennett could have left. Players could have transferred. Plenty of other schools, players would have transferred.
Yeah, that
players would have quit basketball.
That could have had that could have mark for the rest of forever.
That could have ended Virginia basketball. Yeah. But they stayed the course. They remained faithful, and look where they are now. Mm-hmm. Amazing. So yeah, great March Madness. Really encouraged spiritually by Virginia, and just sportsly, new word, straight from Double Cover Sports Talk here. Encouraged in the sports regard. But yeah, so that's a lesson, if you call it that, but I think an important conversation to have.
Absolutely. And, we talk about Tony Bennett and his testimony and his faith being very evident. Chris Beard
absolutely
is the same way. I mean, they win their Final Four game, right?
Yep.
They're advancing to the first national championship in program history. They're not popping champagne bottles and dancing. The first thing that they do is circle up, arms around each other. They take a knee and they start praying.
Yep.
There's been a little bit of controversy, at least in Christian circles, over CBS not showing that. They did cut away very, very quickly, but
thankfully Ernie Johnson said, they're praying. Ernie Johnson, really strong believer.
Strong Christian as well. Yeah. So, it was awesome to see guys that are so outspoken about their faith have that kind of success and get that sort of recognition that, look, you can be very, very outspoken. You can be a staunch believer. You can be, as bold about your faith as you can. And that doesn't mean that you don't get success. I think sometimes as Christians we shy away from that because, people might think I'm weird or whatnot. And yet here it was for the entire country to see, and no one looks down on them. Everyone is encouraged by that.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really cool to see both those coaches and players on both those teams exhibit that amount of faith.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and move into our next topic of conversation, which if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that my co-host is decked out in all
Happy Masters Eve, baby.
Masters
Come on now.
Where did you get that hat? I got to ask that.
I got this off a buy and sell Instagram page. And then I bought this from a buddy of mine. So I am, the best holiday of the year, Masters Eve.
Well, it is the Masters week. Everyone is excited about that. I don't play golf well at all, but I'm very, very excited to find some time this weekend. It's a busy weekend. You're getting your ring. My brother's getting his ring. My girlfriend's getting her ring. I'm going to be out and about. So are you. But we will find time to watch the Masters.
The Masters app will be downloaded firmly, and data has been saved up to consume so much Masters.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. Well, you are our local golf expert, so take us through the field this year. Who are you kind of leaning towards? What do you expect out of Tiger? Is it realistic that Tiger could be back, that Tiger could claim a Masters? Could Rory get his Grand Slam? Could we see a return to form from Jordan Spieth? What are you thinking coming up this week?
I'll tell you what, players who know Augusta National Golf Club are successful. That's why you see Jordan Spieth has an average finish of like third at Augusta. And he hasn't played good golf for a year.
No, he's struggled this season.
But he's going to get a top 10 this week at minimum. So if you're a betting guy and listen to a podcast, Jordan Spieth feels incredible about his golf swing right now. He's had a year of battling his golf swing. It's been really, really tough. but he feels really confident. So now it's about repetition for his golf swing.
Yep.
So his swing thoughts and his confidence is really good. And look, some players just see Augusta well. He just comes to the Masters and plays well.
Yeah.
And that's what Jordan Spieth does. So players like Tiger, they know the course, they're confident in the course, doesn't matter what you've done in any other tournament ever. If you know Augusta, you're going to do well. So that's why I'm not confident in Rory McIlroy. I think it was last year was it last year or 2 years ago, he had a really good chance to get the Grand Slam, and he shot.
I think it was last year.
I mean, he's had multiple shots, and one time he shot in the 80s on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just nothing against Rory, and he just won the Players, which is a huge win. But there's just something about Sunday at Augusta, he just can't do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to just dog him. Like I would love to see Rory get the Grand Slam. I love Rory, but I'm just not confident in his ability to put 4 rounds together at Augusta. I really want to see Dustin Johnson. Last year, fell down the stairs, wasn't able to play. And last year, he was coming off 3 wins in a row and was the favorite to win the Masters.
Paulina push him down the stairs.
That is a whole nother rabbit trail, my friend. But would love to see DJ. Trying to think of who else.
Ricky Fowler?
Ricky Fowler, solo second last year.
Yeah.
I want Ricky to win a major so bad. Last year, it was great seeing him not just throw it all away on the weekend. He actually put 4 rounds together in a major, specifically in the Masters, which is awesome. Not rooting for Patrick Reed. I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
Not that I have any ill will against him. How about this? I would much rather see other players win over Patrick Reed.
Yeah, that's fair.
He has a pretty decent Champions Dinner put together, though. Someone asked me, okay, I'll ask you this. If you won the Masters, what would be the meal you had the next year at the Masters? Give me
next year.
Yeah,
so I'm returning, trying to defend my crown, my jacket.
Yes. So like the winner of the Masters, he'll host a meal with all the previous Masters champions.
Okay.
And you get to decide the menu. So like this year, it's Patrick Reed hosting since he won last year. He's got like steak and other stuff. So give me an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert.
Oh my goodness. Really put me on the spot here. Shoot. Oh goodness. Something. I really like seafood, so I would probably go in the direction of like a crab cake or something like that. For dinner, I would probably do like a surf and turf option, right? Get some nice sirloin in there. Some lobster tail would be fantastic. And then some sort of, I'm a big pie guy, so like my favorite pie is probably chocolate pie, which my mom thinks is kind of weird, but I don't know how to describe that, but it is. So I would probably lean in the realm of like a pie or a cake, chocolate themed.
I think I would for sure go Tex-Mex. I would be very tempted to just cater Rose's Tortilla Factory.
When you win a green jacket, can I come?
Yeah, it's a matter of when, Tuesday. Not if. I really would be very tempted to cater Rose's or La Hacienda Ranch. For those who don't know, two of the greatest Tex-Mex places of all time.
Do you have a La Hacienda out by you down in Granbury?
No, so
come back.
Yeah,
there's one 2 minutes down the street from me.
I'm gonna have to swing by before I head to Charlotte.
Baby.
I'd probably go Tex-Mex. And I mean, a lot of players will do like local foods. Like when Sergio he had the dinner, there was a lot of Spanish foods.
Paella.
But I'd probably go Tex-Mex. Unlimited chips queso, maybe fajitas, something like that. Copious amounts of Dr. Pepper, the pediatrician. God's nectar.
Everyone would just be like, how did he win again?
Yeah.
The only other person that's like really comfortable there is like Jordan Spieth, maybe Bubba Watson. Everyone else is like, really?
Yeah. Here's my hidden gem in the Masters field. I really want to see Tommy Fleetwood win him. He's never won on tour, and he's top 10 in the world.
Gorgeous locks.
Him and Molinari, I don't remember how do you say it. They went undefeated in the Ryder Cup. And honestly, like if you are betting American or Europe's not a bad bet at all right now. European players are white hot. But Tommy Fleetwood is my sleeper pick. Not a lot of people know Tommy Fleetwood, but very good golfer. He's due for a win.
Yeah. If you don't know Tommy Fleetwood, the player, get to know Tommy Fleetwood, the hairstylist, the hair model.
Yes.
I mean, we all need to be on his shampoo and conditioner.
Yes.
Because that is gorgeous.
My former self was.
Ian Poulter, you got him?
Ian Poulter, gosh. Only in the Ryder Cup. Only in the Ryder Cup, Ian Poulter plays good golf.
No
and he
kidding.
just destroys Americans.
No kidding. I thought I've forgotten who his first pairing was against, but I was like, easy win for the Americans. Just give us the points. And
Ian Poulter is a match play god.
And then all of a sudden, he was hitting fairways. He was hitting putts. And it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
See you in 2 years.
Yeah. Not sure what to think about Brooks Koepka. He lost weight, apparently, for a photo shoot. And that took...
What?
He went from, like, third in average driving distance, which is a huge aspect of his game, to middle of the field. And I think... One of the Golf Channel guys was like, "This is an atrocity that he would do that." I mean, him losing weight hurt his game. Like he's a bigger. He looks like a line.
He could play linebacker.
People say like on TV, looks like linebacker, but I'm sure he's in reality, if he stood to an actual linebacker, it would be.
Oh, sure.
But relative to the tiny golfers you see on tour. But he lost weight, and that really hurt his game. So I'm not sure where it's at now.
So he needs to eat Tex-Mex, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yes. If you're big into golf stats, probably the most important stat is strokes gained approach. Hitting fairways at Augusta is not really a huge issue. It's your approach shots. The greens, you might as well be putting on marble. So if your approach shots aren't setting you up for birdie putts, you're setting yourself up for extremely hard two putts in long lag putts. So if you aren't hitting good approach shots, you are setting yourself up for failure because it is literally putting on marble, which I would average 5 or 6 putts a green probably. It's extremely scary.
Just chasing the ball all over the green.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, nope.
Yeah. So that's the Masters. That's my thoughts on the Masters. I'm extremely excited. Love that golf is really back in the swing of things. Love that Tiger's playing and healthy. So
Tiger has really good betting odds too this week. If you
better than it should be.
It's always.
And he's
better
always
than it should be. I mean,
sure.
there's so much hype and fervor around.
He's like
Tiger.
5th or 6th in the odds right now.
Yes, which I mean,
it shouldn't be. Like
he just
that.
hasn't put it together yet since his return. He hasn't
won a major in 11 years. That's crazy to say out loud.
I think that was the last time I drank Tiger Woods Gatorade, which...
Oh, the best Gatorade I've ever consumed.
Without a doubt.
Gosh, it was so good.
Body Armor's good. Could not match that. Yeah, it's an exciting time. You know, like I said, I don't play golf well. I'm going to try and play at the end of this month. Buddy's bachelor party. We're going out to Mississippi. We're going to Biloxi.
Come on.
He wants to go hang out there on the beach. There's a nice resort. Apparently a really nice golf course, and they were asking for takers. Anyone want to play 18 holes? And I threw my hat in the ring. So we'll see how that works out, because baseball and golf are not the same thing. But
no, so your club head speed's through the roof, but it's about a banana slice, right?
Yes, literally everything I hit. I mean, if you are anywhere 45 degrees to the extreme, whatever, 90 degrees, look out. You are in the kill zone. Like whatever the hole is on A&M's campus golf course that borders George Bush.
Oh, dangerous.
Yes.
Extremely dangerous.
I would be fine. I would be the one that if you knew how I hit.
Oh, right? if you're left of Mitch, you are A-okay.
You are totally perfect. No cracked windshields whatsoever. But every time I drive by and I see a guy teeing up a shot, especially like an old guy who just like, man, should you really be out here anymore?
No, I'm hitting a quick lane change to the right and driving back into the historic district.
I absolutely agree. I've seen a guy absolutely shank it and put it in the street before.
Yeah.
And
one of my buddies got hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. You find out all kinds of little nuggets here on
That's
Double
right.
Sports Talk. But yes, very exciting time. We'll have a I believe, we should have time to record next week, so we should have a full
Yeah.
Masters report
Yeah.
coming up. All of a sudden, I was like, wait, what week is it? Yes, next week we will have a full Masters report for you. 2 more things to get through here before we end episode 34, and I don't think either of these will take very much longer. First of all, I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and their War Room experience coming up. If you're not a subscriber to The Athletic, I would strongly encourage you to be so. It's not very expensive whatsoever, and it is incredible writing. I love all these local writers that don't write like local newspaper writers at all. They have a very conversational tone, yet their analysis is solid. I just really, really enjoy reading that.
And that's the thing. The best writing in sports information you'll get, and this is true for everywhere, is local beat writers, because they're with the team, with the players.
2 local beat writers. Yes, raise a glass.
Us, we are the local beat writers. But yeah, The Athletic they're hiring more and more beat writers, more and more teams and regions. They're exploding.
Yeah,
so definitely.
3 of the guys covering MLB, they have a writer covering each MLB team. 3 of those guys are national level rookies. They have never covered a team on a national scale before. The Athletic went for them, and I've read some of their writing. Excellent stuff. So if you've not at least tried The Athletic, give it a try. That would be my strong recommendation if you like to sports on a daily basis in the written variety. So one of the Dallas Cowboy beat writers, Jeff Kavanaugh, wrote a piece on the war room experience, putting himself in Jerry's chair, in Steven's chair, in Jason's chair, as the draft pick rolls from 57 to 58. The Cowboys don't have a first-round pick. They traded that to the Raiders for Amari Cooper. So this experience begins in round 2. And with the Cowboys getting several pass rushers now through free agency, you've gotten Robert Quinn. You traded for him from the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He's certainly an improvement on one side. And then you bring back Tank Lawrence. He wanted to be here in Dallas.
Massive move by
Absolutely
by the Cowboys.
Critical move that the Dallas Cowboys lock up Tank for the next 5 years. Now you can shift your focus off of the defensive line, which has been a glaring hole up until Tank's re-signing, and now you can look at the secondary. There is a major hole at strong safety right now where you have Jeff Heath playing currently. Heath cannot cover whatsoever. He is terrible at covering downfield. If you want to try and burn someone deep, you're looking squarely at Jeff Heath. Heath's only real relevance to the Dallas Cowboys defense is he prides himself on being a hard hitter and a good tackler. Statistically, I believe he was the 2nd worst strong safety at tackling efficiency last season.
And that's no surprise.
No, he's just, he's been better than I think a lot of people expected him to be, right? Coming out of, was it Grand Valley State, Saginaw State maybe?
Yeah. And no slam against him, like he's just slacking.
Yeah.
He's
overachieved in his career.
Oh, absolutely. And there's plenty of athletes that are just better.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. He's not the biggest. So you're naturally at a little bit of a disadvantage there. So the Cowboys really, really need someone in pass defense, someone that can come up and play in the box, on occasion to stop the run, but also isn't a liability on the secondary side. They signed George Iloka for, I think, a 1-year deal, but he's exclusively a box safety. He also can't cover. So as we roll into this experience, there's a couple names on the board in this draft simulation that Kavanaugh did. And the name that jumps out to me, there are 2. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from Florida and Justin Lane from Michigan State are both on the board here in this draft simulation, which the site that he used, I also used, fanspeak.com. If you go there, you can do your own mock draft for free. You can do all 7 rounds if you like. You could pick for multiple teams or you can pick for just one. It's a really fun thought experiment if you're into that kind of thing. So between those 2, and there's another safety on the board here, Juan Thornhill from Virginia. All 3 can cover really well. Thornhill's probably the least attractive of those 3. And so then you pick between a very, very physical safety who is a ball hawk at Florida or a lockdown corner at Michigan State. The Cowboys need corners. Eventually, you're going to have, Byron Jones's contract is getting ready to run out. So the Cowboys probably need to work on getting more corners into the building to be able to replace him in case, Dak asks for the moon in his contract extension. So that's why you would consider a cornerback here. Kavanaugh goes with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and I would agree with that. It gives you a potential starter from day one to pair along with Xavier Woods. Obviously, there's a long learning process that goes from being in college to starting in the NFL, but the Cowboys need to start increasing their depth at that area so that they have more options than just Jeff Heath. Because, to be quite honest, he was a liability at times last year. And so I think safety, now that you have improved your pass rush game, that becomes the number one priority. Moving to the third round pick, Jeff Kavanaugh takes Amani, I'm going to butcher this name, Oruwai from Penn State. He's a very, very athletic corner, another kind of ball-hawking kid who can defend the edge. He's also going to be able to come up and, press cover you. I think he's going to be physical at the line of scrimmage. So I really like that. Your first two picks address the defensive needs that you have. Into the fourth round, Deontay Johnson, a wide receiver out of Toledo. This kid is about as raw as they come, but my goodness, is he quick. The kid is a flat-out burner. And it's not that the Cowboys have a glaring need at wide receiver. Right now you bring in Randall Cobb after you let Cole Beasley go, so you're going to have a slot presence. And I think Kavanaugh takes Deontay Johnson specifically just to see, okay, what is this kid's ceiling, right? He kind of is a Kareem Hunt type of guy. He's not big. He's blazing fast. You could maybe use him like the Cowboys tried to use Tavon Austin out of the backfield a little bit last year. Yeah. It just gives your offense diversity, and I think immediately he becomes a special teams player.
Yeah, and you're not relying on him so much because Zeke is a 3-down back.
Yeah.
So you don't need, all right, we have to have a guy for third down packages because Zeke is that guy.
Right. First,
second, and third down.
Yeah. And we'll get into this in just a second. So the next pick that the Cowboys take in the fourth round, we have two picks in the fourth round. Tristan Hill, defensive tackle out of UCF. He has some personal baggage, but overall he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential. The Cowboys have made a living with undrafted defensive tackles. Antoine Woods, they obviously brought in David Irving for the spell of time that he was effective for the Cowboys. So, taking a defensive tackle in the fourth or later isn't necessarily a death nail if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for the Cowboys to take not Dexter Lawrence, but a Dexter Lawrence type of player out of Clemson. I think you can get value for your money as long as Tristan Hill doesn't let all the personal baggage come up. The Cowboys then in the fifth round take Drew Sample, and in the seventh round take Dre Greenlaw, a name that you and I are familiar with, linebacker out of Arkansas. Yeah. Texas A&M has seen him for the last couple of years. So the big thing that I take away from this list is obviously this is very, very defensive heavy, right? Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I do worry about is, one, you don't pick up a real tight end. Drew Sample is kind of a all-around type of guy. He can block, he can pass catch a little bit, but he's not one of these elite tight ends that are going to be taken in the first three rounds.
Which was your original worry when Jason Witten made his glorious return.
Yes, it was my worry. I did wonder, oh my goodness, okay, tight end was...
That was a guarantee we were going to spend a draft pick on tight end.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a revolving door last year, and we had injury issues there. But Jeff Swaim's no longer on the team; he's in Jacksonville, and so right now you're looking at Dalton Schultz and the kid from Oklahoma State, whose name just eluded me. That's embarrassing. I'll figure that out. There's not a clear number one going forward for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, Jason Witten will be your number one tight end this year. But how many years does he have left in the league? Is he going to be effective in year one? Can he play 2 more years? There's so many questions for the Cowboys at tight end. And like you said, I was worried when we did our mock draft episode. I was worried. Blake Jarwin. That's right. Caught 3 touchdowns in the finale against the Giants. Clearly didn't do anything for his long-term status, though, with Jason Witten coming back. But it did concern me that the Cowboys, as they tend to do when they sign an old veteran, They overreact, and they say, "Oh, we're good now. We've patched that hole. We don't have to worry about it. Out of sight, out of mind."
But then what happens when that Band-Aid, which it is,
Peels
falls?
off.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, Jason Witten can't even keep the hair on his head right now.
He went immediate. Like the fake hair was gone immediately once he left the booth.
We don't often discuss growth hormones on this show, but he had to have been taking something that was banned by the league,
or like
right?
Or a toupee, or do you think he was wearing it? It had to be fake.
But he and Brian Urlacher did this. Like, were a part of a program. Like, they were on
Brian Urlacher's looks way better than Witten's did.
It did.
And when he came out for a Bears game out of the tunnel, I was like, is there another Brian Urlacher that I wasn't familiar with?
Yeah. So, anyway, Witten looks old. I really hope, that he can have some sort of success, because then if he just does play for 1 year, this year can be his swan song. The Cowboys can send him off. Because obviously we were not expecting him to retire last season. He just kind of at the draft was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm retiring. I've got the Monday Night Football gig." So I am a little bit worried about what the Cowboys do at tight end going forward. This year was so deep as far as a tight end class, and who knows? Drew Sample may be a diamond in the rough. It's not like the Cowboys have had success picking tight ends in the second round. You think of Gavin Escobar. Failure there. We didn't do anything with Martellus Bennett, who then went on to be a great tight end. But the Cowboys don't have.
This is the year to spend the draft pick on a tight end.
Yeah, I thought so too, especially when you have a guy like Jay Sternberger who's going to be available in the third or fourth round.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that Sternberger's an NFL level tight end, but I think there's a developmental aspect there. And that could be very true for Drew Sample as well. I didn't watch Washington football this year. I don't really know anything about him other than he is a hybrid tight end. He can block, he can pass catch. He's not a liability on either side. So anyway, that'll be really, really interesting to watch. We'll get into more draft coverage. I'm trying to put together a third mock draft because literally everything has changed. I mean, Kyler Murray is basically the consensus number one pick now. So pass rushers are sliding down the board. You have a guy like Ja'Kai Polite who showed up to the combine and was fat, he was slow, and he was telling executives, I don't really study tape, so I just kind of wing it on the field. He, on some mock drafts, has dropped from 12th overall, where I had him, to a 4th-round prospect. So stuff like that has happened, just shaking stuff up. Or we could just end on that. I guess we're right at about an hour, I guess. So next week, what we have ahead of Easter, and I'm assuming we'll do kind of an Easter-themed lesson. So along with that, we will have a Masters recap for you. I'd like to work in some baseball as well. Find some way to keep that interesting. The Rangers had a great first week. 4-2. Then they win their first game against the Angels. It's looking great. And then we give up 5 home runs in 4 games to Mike Trout. We give up a walk-off home run to Gerard Dyson, who has no power whatsoever last night. So the Rangers are now 5-6, and it is what it is. But we'll talk baseball next week. We'll work in some draft coverage. Hey, the Dallas Stars. We got to mention the Dallas Stars.
That's
They're
right
in the playoffs.
That's right.
Taking on the National.
As long as
Predators
Bob
tonight.
Sturm is out of the booth, the Dallas Stars make the playoffs.
So big shout out to the Dallas Stars.
It's a great time of year, people.
It really is.
A great time of year.
It really is. So we will have another smorgasbord of sports content for you next week.
Just keep sportsing with us, people.
Absolutely. Really, really looking forward to it. And, we're going to have to – one thing that I did want to say, I'm about to graduate, so we are about to be apart.
We are.
Not only for the summer, but then also going forward. But I am going to work on a plan to keep the podcast going. We will do video conferences and stuff like that. So
some call-ins here and there.
Yes, absolutely. So we will find a way to keep this podcast going, which I know is at the top of everyone else's to-do list.
Including you-know-who from Ohio State.
Exactly. So all of that to say, thank you guys so much for spending part of your day with us. We really do appreciate it. We really do appreciate you reaching out to us via Twitter, via Facebook, all the shares, the nice comments, and the text. All of those really, really help make our day, and we love creating this content for you guys. So that's going to do it for episode 34. For myself, Mitch Mason, for Luke Heaton, my partner in crime, thank you guys once again. And until next week, have a good one and take it easy.